The Unturned gaming mystery.
Today is a very strange, somewhat unexplained video showcasing that the astronomical popularity for one of Steam's top 20 most played games is entirely fake, it seems. Now, you may be thinking, why
Is that really surprising? There are extreme benefits to being at the top of a list. Always. It can be reputation, it can be notoriety, it can be money, it can be sales, it can be so many things. Something like this should not be even in the slightest bit surprising.
is that the case? And you'd be right to do so, but the truthful answer is that I don't know. I can certainly speculate, and I will later on in the video, but today is about showcasing how tens of thousands of concurrent bots are seemingly being used to prop up a particular video game and make it seem like one of the most popular titles in the world, whereas in reality, it's pretty much dead. Let's dive in. The game
That's not even close to a first, honestly, at this point.
is Unturned, and for anyone who's never heard of it, that honestly makes sense. It's been around a fairly long time, initially gaining popularity
I have absolutely never heard of it.
in mid 2014 when major YouTubers like Jacksepticeye decided to play it, boosting the online community to as high as over 60,000 concurrent players back then. But since that time,
Wow.
the game has fluctuated up and down, settling now at a similar number of roughly 50 to 70,000 online players, putting it between number 15 and number 19 on Steam's global leaderboard of most played titles.
Well, look at this. That next to Helldivers, Zelda and Ring, Fallout, and Wallpaper Engine? What?
That's no small thing, especially for a PvP based spin off mod of Roblox, and the game has over 500,000 total reviews while consistently ranking higher than
Wait. Is Unturned literally CS zombies? Because any zombie mode that the Roblox has is just a copy of his zombie mode from CS.
viral indie hits like Valheim or free to play sensations like Warframe, even. It contains a player economy where items can sell for hundreds, even thousands of actual dollars each, an economy that is
Jesus.
directly listed on the Steam Market homepage, by the way. And obviously, most people have never heard of it, but judging
Oh man, yeah. Some of of course, the 40.
by prominence, earning potential, or player count, it's actually a pretty big deal of a game. With that in mind, what is it precisely that makes me say with so much confidence that the game's community is likely fabricated? Well, for starters, I'm not the only one saying it, not by a long shot. This is an openly discussed phenomenon because the evidence is so visible, and it was referred to me by a user named The Magical Smiley. I'll link their YouTube channel down below.
What kind of evidence are we even searching for here? In situations where high number of players, but you go into a game and it's empty, or you can visibly see their bots. I mean, what do we really need evidence for something this obvious? Almost all of us would be able to understand if we join a game and it's either full of no one or it's full of bots, and then the game says, "Oh, there's 1 trillion people playing." All of us would instantaneously suspect, wait a minute, this is a lie and there's something off here.
Over the past few years,
Oof.
especially since October of 2022, the issue has become quite obvious, which begs the question, why has nothing ever been done about it by anyone? This right here is a website called Steam Charts, actively tracking concurrent players on Steam, showcasing the average and peak monthly active players as far back as 2014.
The way that you can tell that there is something wrong here is the fact that the dip almost is non-existent. You know, these small groups, because these groups should be changing with when is day for Europe and when is night for America and vice versa. Every game has these peaks and downs because that is okay. It's getting night for Europe, so everyone's going to sleep, and typically that I have actually checked this for multiple situations. Typically, that is around 11 at night, p.m. for Americans. 11 p.m. and the same is, by the way, true for America. When it's roughly 11, the biggest drop off of players happens, and at that point, well, it's almost day for the next part, and slowly it just stabilizes itself like that, and then it happens again.
The website also has daily averages over the past couple of months, allowing us to look at things more closely, and this is where the evidence begins. On a typical daily basis, the number of total active online players fluctuates by roughly 3 to 5,000.
That
Some
is
days it can be
nothing.
higher or lower, of course, but you'll immediately notice that there is a consistent baseline that remains in the range of 50,000. Separate from this, there's a bunch of what seem to be very sudden drop offs here and there, but the interesting thing is that these drop offs do not correspond with any sort of update, patch, or Steam downtime. This is a very strange thing to see, and I should make it
Yeah, this is also classic bot behavior, by the way. If the drop-offs don't correlate with patches or server downtime.
clear at this point. Nothing about this entire graph seems legitimate at all. First, why are there numerous different points where 20 or 30,000 players just rapidly log off all at the same time, and then mostly come back but not fully? Why is it that for a 2-day period starting May 18th of 2024, more than half of the player base just stops playing and then comes back
Yeah, this is a kind of a big one also. True.
suddenly all at once on the 20th? And how could it possibly be true that this game is almost entirely unique in terms of day-night playtime cycles when compared to practically any other product on all of Steam? See, this graph is extremely compressed. Looking at it, you'll see that aside from extremely unexpected, unpredictable, and completely irregular fluctuations, the average concurrent player count remains largely unchanged over the course of any given day. Compare that to pretty much any other similar game on Steam, though, and it becomes obviously impossible. This is War
Sure.
Thunder,
Yeah.
a free
Yeah, this is what all of your charts should look like. Again, the dips and drops and boops and bibbles, I don't even care about them. Just the fact that your graph is this compressed already tells me that 100% this is fake.
free-to-play PvP-centered experience, which makes it, in some respects, quite similar to Unturned. Notice how the graph resembles an EKG, up-down rhythm scale. War Thunder is free, holds a massive and fully legitimate online community, but that community does not sit there playing 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. They log in and log out with cycling predictability. How about Helldivers 2, one of the most popular games in existence right now? Funny to see how it has a similar number of online
Yep.
players, apparently, when compared to Unturned, but once again, there is a cycle here. It's not identical to the pattern displayed by Warframe, however, you can clearly see that there are 40, 50, even 60% fluctuations in the online player count.
You know what's interesting? I forgot about these double dip peaks. Once I was checking them out, and I don't remember the explanation for the double dip peaks, but there is an explanation for the double dip peaks.
Count based on time of day, and this is a pattern that holds true across the entire Steam platform. Single player games, free to play games, multiplayer games, strategy, shooter, casual, you name it, all of them. That is very obviously troubling, but let's go further.
What was that? Because again, you can almost see everywhere double dip peaks.
If you log into the game itself, you can actually see every single one of the servers that are currently online. You have to toggle some of the filters and then scroll a decent way down the page, but you can actually count the number of online players in real time that are playing on peer-to-peer hosted servers. Side note, that
Okay.
also underlines how strange the graph patterns are, because connectivity issues actually can't explain why 30 or 40,000 players suddenly all log off at the exact same time, since the entire game is built on peer-to-peer hosting. Sorting the servers by player count and enabling every single filter option, it becomes abundantly clear just how dead the experience is. Physically counting every single player and even rounding all of them up to be as generous.
Oh, geez, there's no point. Listen, if you can see every server that there is, and you're gonna tell me that on average 60k people are always logged in, and then I go and see the server list and the first server is not even 50% populated? No. Go and look at any other game that has open servers like this. You know what you're gonna have? The first servers on the list are all gonna be absolutely full to the brim.
Physically counting every single player and even rounding all of them up to be as generous as humanly possible here, the game has an active community of around 2 to maybe 3,000, which is 1/20th of the concurrent players on Steam charts. That's a pretty big deal when you remember that this game is in the top 20 products on all of Steam, and just to corroborate all this with another tracking tool, we can look at something like battle metrics. Battlemetrics does a very good
What the hell is battle metrics?
job estimating the actual concurrent player count with a min max range plus or minus about 200. According to their stats, Unturned has a player population that is under 2,000 right now, while Steam acknowledges the game as having 60,000 concurrent players, putting it in the platform's top 20 and listing the peer to peer economy for it on the market homepage. That's a pretty big yikes. Just in case people want one final comparison here, let's jump over to one more example called Team Fortress 2. It turns out Team
Oh, Team Fortress 2 is botted as fuck, boy. And as you can see, well, it's less botted. Team Fortress 2 is still a good game. But as you can see, again, compression. It's actually better than the other graph, but you know, compression.
Fortress 2, which was originally developed and published by Valve, which is the company behind Steam as a platform, has a very similar concurrent player graph when compared to Unturned. Some of you may be thinking, but doesn't that disprove your entire premise here? That the game is
Why
filled with
would
fake
it?
accounts, deliberately inflating the size of the alleged community? And the answer to that would be yes, if not for the fact that Team Fortress
Wait, no, the answer to that is not yes. What? Why would... So you have a graph that you're calling cheaters, then you show every other graph in the universe and it looks different, and then you show another graph that looks like the cheater graph. How is that supposed to be evidence for it not cheating? It's just another cheater graph, logic would dictate.
2
Also, Team Fortress 2 is notoriously well known for being bought at the Kingdom Come. I mean, damn, boy, if you... And I give up.
is notorious in the video game world for being one of the most heavily botted games in existence. It's a well-known problem that has persisted for many years, and it's the only graph on the entire Steam tracking website that is even remotely similar to that of Unturned, even so far as to have historical examples where they both receive unexplained and massive player-based drop-offs at the exact same point in time when no other game on the platform does. Still, acknowledging that the patterns here are impossible, understanding that the metrics just...
Now, this is kind of a bad argument to a degree, because unexplained drop-offs in player base at the same time means that doesn't mean that they're botting, by the way. Maybe it's just luck, but if both games are botting, then they're most likely using the same bot service. That's what's happening.
Don't line up ever in any sense of the word, and the game does not have 60,000 concurrent players. The question becomes why? Why is this happening? This is the part where I just don't
money, obviously,
have a fully concrete answer, but here's a bit of context. In a forum post about this exact same topic, the idea that the game has a massive population of fake players, the creator SDG Nelson had this to say, quote, "For what it's worth, no, I'm not botting Unturned to boost the player counts. If I wanted to artificially boost Unturned's player counts, I would have kept item drops and made them more valuable. Heck, I would have made a 0.001% chance of mythical playtime drops and got even more bots. From SDG's point of view, SDG being Smartly Dressed Games, the developer, it would have been a better business decision to keep playtime drops. The game reached 100k plus potentially players before steeply dropping after I removed them." End quote. Interesting. Also, in my opinion, completely untrue.
Interesting, but I mean, if I wanted to bot, I would have done it a little bit better. Is not really a great excuse, you know?
Explaining quickly here, playtime drops was a system where simply being in the game could award items, items could be scrapped, and scrap could be used to get loot boxes, thereby having a shot at mythical items which are worth a decent amount of actual real-world money. He is 100% correct here in the idea that keeping or bolstering the playtime drop system that existed previously would have increased the amount of botted traffic for the game. However, it would also be an extremely short-lived and kind of shooting yourself in the foot type increase. Monetary incentive would certainly explain why there was or is a huge number of bots in a game, thousands or tens of thousands of profiles simply logged in to farm pennies of revenue, but it also destroys the player economy. Nelson claims he could artificially boost player counts by keeping or adding more playtime drop incentives, but that would completely eviscerate the in-game economy as well as the pricing of items and destroy the recurrent revenue stream that is harvested from every transaction currently. Playtime drops being removed on a surface level may seem counterproductive to the existence of bots unless we recognize that the game enjoys massively increased credibility, as well as economic viability from its position in the top 20 on Steam. There is an enormous population of people ever since 2011, actually,
Yeah, exactly as we said at the start. Not really a like hard thing to figure out, right?
when the system first made its
I
debut.
need to shave my mustache. It's fucking annoying me so much, honestly. Jesus Christ. It just grew yesterday. How the hell am I supposed to do it? I hate mustaches.
Who have earned substantial amounts of real money and income from Steam's player to player marketplace, typically concentrated in games like CSGO, Dota, or Team Fortress 2. Unturned, while not existing as one of the top 3 or maybe even the top 5 games for this particular purpose, enjoys a substantial real dollar economy made possible by the fact that the game consistently sits in the top 20 and appears to have a stable 60,000 concurrent player community. Remember, there are transaction costs or fees which contribute to a recurrent revenue stream from the game, where loot boxes in Unturned are viewed as a viable profit mechanism for certain speculators, which would not be doing what they do in a game that only had 2,000 players online, because the perceived level of viable demand, which is necessary for exit liquidity, would not exist in such a title. Making things even stranger, we can see this, posted by Nelson Sexton, the game's founder. Quote, since the 3.22.14.0 update, 2022-08-12, playtime item drops have been disabled, end quote. But if you look at the August 8th and surrounding month time frame for Steam charts, you realize that the 100% spontaneous player base increase from an impossibly high number already to a massively impossible figure afterward happened after the alleged monetary incentive for these bots to exist was removed from the game. None of it makes sense. My speculation, the existence of playtime drops was on the verge of destroying the game's economy, leading to their removal, not as a mechanism to decrease the existence of bots outright, but as a mechanism to stave off the collapse of a recurrent revenue stream. After that, someone, somewhere,
Possibly, yeah.
decided to spin up tens of thousands of bots for this game, tens of thousands more anyway, because it already had quite a few, in order to keep it high up on the list of Steam's most played titles, thereby cementing credibility and legitimacy for an economy that would now stabilize and continue providing transaction fees. Meanwhile, a substantial community of item speculators look at this game as a possible method of earning profits, while players continue to jump in and buy loot boxes under the impression that there is a very large and very active community when reality is far different, with a dwindling population of players that wouldn't even see the game crack the top 200 if accurately displayed. At the end of the day, it's not an issue that impacts very many people directly, but one of the top 20 games on all of Steam appears to be a community that is almost entirely fabricated, with an in game economy where items are selling for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars each, and yet it's all based on numbers that don't line up with the actual.
I wonder how many people actually do buy those expensive items. Well, you can see it on the Steam Marketplace. It actually shows daily volume traded, which, by the way, is something that Valve had literally just for speculators, which is hilarious in my opinion, but that's fine. Anyway, that was Echelon. Up at Echelon. Bye-bye.